Shields up, Iron Breakers. Rurikhan here, coming at you with another video, and today we're going to be taking a look at Dead Cells. Now, this is a title that some of you guys have requested in the comment section that I check out and tell you guys my opinions on it. So I requested a key a while back, but it took me a while to actually get around to playing the game. But today I played it for a couple of hours, and these are my initial impressions on Dead Cells. Now, before we begin, I guess I should describe what kind of a game Dead Cells is. I mean, you guys are going to be watching some gameplay, but basically this is kind of like a Metroidvania, but it's also a roguelike, so you're going to have stuff like permadeath, but you do have a couple of upgrades that you're able to buy in between levels, and some of those upgrades will be permanent. So it kind of gave me a bit of a vibe of what you would get from something like Rogue Legacy. But it is very different from Rogue Legacy when it comes to combat as well as when it comes to loot. And that, I guess, is one of the more interesting aspects of this game, the loot. So as you fight through this castle, which is constantly changing because it is a roguelike after all, so the levels are all procedurally generated. As you fight through this castle, you're going to find treasure chests, or sometimes monsters themselves will drop certain items, and these items will be pretty much the loot that you will be able to get. So you're able to get loot like necklaces, which can give you passive bonuses. Some of the necklaces allow you to jump 3 times. I found a necklace that would allow me to, when I do a it's not really a plunging attack, it's more like a ground slam type attack that you can do in this game. It would create like a fire effect whenever I would do the dropping attack. And beyond necklaces, you also have 2 weapons that you can have. These weapons are going to be, they can be melee, they can be ranged, they can be spells, but they still count as weapons for all intents and purposes. So you're going to be able to have these 2 weapons, and then on top of that, you're going to be able to have 2 skills as well that are going to be usable based on a cooldown. Now, this is all really interesting because depending on how lucky you are, you might be able to get some really cool weapons on each of the runs that you make. And that is also one of the downsides. So it's like this is a double-edged sword. So in one way, there are chances that you will get some really interesting weapons that you've never seen before. Like, for instance, the run that you guys are probably going to be watching, I actually found a hammer, which the hammer in this game is obviously going to be one of my favorite weapons. You guys know that I love hammers. But this specific hammer had something really cool, which is whenever I hit the enemies and kill them with the hammer, the maggots would come out of them, and those maggots would start attacking other enemies. So the more enemies I would kill, you could actually create almost like a maggot army that would continue to attack. And I thought that was really cool. Another really cool weapon that I found is, I'm not sure if they're knives or what exactly they are, but it's like this thing that you can throw. It goes in an arc, and it creates like, it's almost like a Molotov cocktail, basically. It creates an area of effect of fire. That was also very useful, and in my first run that I did in the game, I actually got that weapon, and that was a run that actually went exceptionally well because I was pretty much just trying to kill stuff from range. Now, as I was saying, the game does have a Metroidvania aspect to it, as in sometimes you will have to go around to different sections of the castle to open different doors that will be locked. Other times you will be able to unlock items in a certain run, which will be permanent and then allow you to access different areas. So, for instance, one of those examples is, in one of my runs, I was able to defeat this elite archer, and that archer gave me the ability to create vines whenever I see these little I don't know what to call them, piles of sludge, these little green piles of sludge, so I can go up to them, tickle them, and they will create a special vine that will then give me access to different areas of the game. So that is one of the things that I've unlocked. I've also seen a couple of like lightning sarcophagus. Pretty sure that there's going to be a special skill that you will unlock later down in the game as you progress that is going to allow you to maybe teleport. I think it's going to be teleport, not entirely sure, but teleport between those 2 sarcophagus, and that would be that will let you access other secret areas. So that's kind of like the Metroidvania of it. Now, one of the things that a lot of people were telling me, it's that it's got Souls-like combat, and they themselves in their website claim to have Souls-like combat, and I would have to go ahead and disagree. And I'm not saying this as a bad thing. I don't think this combat is that much like Souls. I think the one thing that is kind of like Souls is like, hey, you die, you lose all of your currency and all of your items, and, well, I guess all of your items is not that much like Souls either. So, all in all, I don't think there's that much similarity with Souls, personally. But again, it is not a bad thing. I don't think every game needs to have Souls-like combat. I actually found the combat in the game pretty satisfying once I got used to it. It took me a while to get used to it because I didn't even know that you could roll when I started playing the game because I didn't see the controls or anything. And then I got to this point where I had to like roll under something. I was like, what? How do I roll? And it's like figuring out how you can roll and how each of the weapons works becomes very satisfying because then you start looking for specific weapons that you like. Like me personally, I instantly started always trying to find the Nutcracker, which is the hammer weapon, which basically stuns enemies, and it's a hammer. You know, I'm a dwarf. I need to be using that hammer. But that, like I said earlier, becomes a double-edged sword because when you're doing a run and you don't find the weapons that you want, I guess you could say, well, it's a chance for you to experiment with different weapons, but at the same time, there's a couple of points that you're able to spend, like, say, for instance, I really like the Nutcracker. So whenever I go to that section in between levels, because in between levels there's always a section which, I guess if you're talking in Souls terms, it's kind of like a bonfire. So there's a dude that allows you to upgrade this skill tree, which has a lot of things. One of those things is increase the damage of specific weapons. So someone like me, I really like the Nutcracker. I want to increase the damage in the Nutcracker. And then I go a little bit further in the run and I die. And so I start a new run and it's like, I don't have a Nutcracker. So all those points that I've spent are now completely useless. So I'm trying to go through a level, and if I'm lucky enough, I'll find one. If I'm not lucky though, there's that element of RNG that is going to be a little bit frustrating for some people. I mean, for me, I felt a little bit frustrated whenever I wouldn't find weapons that I would have upgrades to. Like I also had upgrades to that Molotov cocktail type weapon that I was telling you guys about. And sometimes I would just do a whole bunch of sections of levels and I wouldn't find it. And therefore I wouldn't be benefiting from the passive abilities that I can get from those items. But again, it's a little bit frustrating, but I think it's something that people are used to when it comes to roguelikes. So I don't think it's going to be a big problem. Now, in terms of visuals, I really like the retro style the game is going for. I think the animation on the game is really good. I think the sounds are also very satisfying. So when you combine the sounds and the animation of when you pop one of these enemies, you actually hear them like explode almost. They explode in gems and stuff, which basically gets instantly converted to gold. And sometimes they will also drop the dead cells, which is what you use to perform the upgrades that I was talking about. As a matter of fact, my personal suggestion, if you're going to start playing Dead Cells, I would advise you guys level up that potion as fast as possible. Now, something that I kind of felt the game did a little bit of a bad job explaining as well was when I got to that dude where you do the upgrades and stuff. The very first time you get to him, he tells you, "Oh, everything that you buy from me remains after death." So I see this thing there, and it's called the Blood Sword. So I figured, well, if I can buy this, I'll just buy this Blood Sword, and then instead of beginning with the regular sword, I'll just begin with the Blood Sword, right? Wrong. Whenever you buy those weapons off of him, what you're essentially doing is unlocking them in the game. So there is a chance for you to find those weapons. It does not necessarily mean that you're going to start with them. Same thing for any other weapon that you unlock. As you progress through the game, you will be able to acquire more blueprints, which will then make it so that more and different weapons spawn into the game. But again, the interesting thing about the weapons is not just the different movesets of each weapon, is the skills that can be attached to them. So for instance, I found that Molotov cocktail that I was telling you guys about. I found two different versions. One of them would also throw a grenade or some kind of explosive potion attached to it, which I thought was really cool, which is probably the run that you guys are watching. I think that's the one I'm going to use because I had a lot of fun in that one. And then I found another version which, besides throwing the Molotov cocktails, will also throw like two knives. So those are the variations. And like I said, I also found a hammer that spawned maggots whenever I killed enemies with it. So the variations in loot is also something that is very satisfying. But again, it is somewhat RNG. Now, in terms of longevity for a game like this, by the way, the game is still in early access in Steam, if I'm not mistaken. So you can get it. They're still actively developing on it. But to be honest, the current content is looking pretty damn good. But it's like all of this stuff, in terms of longevity for a game like this, you're going to be able to run this game God knows how many times. Basically until you get bored of it is what I would say. Because the levels are always different and you're going to be constantly unlocking new things, like new ways to navigate through the map, like I said, with my Vines ability. You're going to eventually unlock other things. Like I said, I think there's some kind of a teleport thing that you will unlock. I mean, you can teleport between different locations in the level since the beginning. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about a different kind of teleportation that will allow you to access secret areas of the map. To top it off, there's also a couple of things that seem to be aimed towards people who are speedrunning through the game. Because as I was going through the castle, through these procedural levels, I found these doors that they would be locked, and they would tell me, oh, this door was locked like 3 minutes ago or 6 minutes ago. And it's like, that's a speedrun thing. So I'm assuming if you go through those doors, I mean, some of them clearly had some rewards behind them, so specific items, upgrades to your character, stuff like that. But others would just like actually go into different areas that I wasn't able to see what the door was holding, what was behind the door, essentially. But that was cool, because again, it's going to reward players based on skill, which to me is better than rewarding players based on RNG, like me finding an hammer that grows maggots out of your enemies. But again, it's got a lot of really cool stuff. You're also able to upgrade your character per run. So like when you upgrade your character with, there's these stat boosts that you can get. One of them is going to reduce the cooldown on your skills, so sometimes you might be able to pick up a grenade that becomes a skill, essentially, that's on a cooldown, and you got this stat that you can increase as you play through the game that is going to reduce the cooldown on your skills. There's another stat that increases damage of your weapons, and there's another stat that increases your health. Another tip if you're going to be playing Dead Cells, like I said, the first thing you want to invest in is the potions when it comes to investing your Dead Cells. I'm talking about go beyond just having one potion. Try to get to, it's a lot of Dead Cells, but trust me, I think in the long run, it is definitely going to be worth your time. But beyond that, when you get those stat upgrades, if you have a choice, because sometimes you'll get a specific stat upgrade like it will just straight up upgrade your health. Other times you'll get a stat upgrade that will let you choose, do you want to upgrade your strength, your health, or your skills? And in my opinion, if you're still new to the game, get some health. Get health like twice at least, and that will allow you to kind of like navigate a little bit further and learn more and more. See, the thing about it, in my opinion, is that you want to prolong your runs for as long as possible. Another thing, don't be too greedy. Sometimes it's okay to leave a couple of mobs behind as you're moving on to the next areas so that you can spend your Dead Cells. Throughout the making of this video, I lost most likely well over 100 cells because I was greedy. I kept wanting more and more and more, and then you die. Another interesting thing that I thought was really cool is there are these cursed chests which will give you really good rewards, but in turn they're going to place a curse on you. Now the curse that I got was like, you're going to die in one hit from now on, but you can kill 10 monsters, and if you kill 10 monsters we will lift the curse. And to be completely honest, I could have survived that, and I could have left that level, and I could have been well on my way to the next portion of the game with a lot of resources. But no, I was greedy, and guess what happened? I died. So the game will punish you a lot when you're greedy, so keep that in mind as well. But overall, my initial impressions of Dead Cell were pretty positive. I really enjoyed my time with it. I'm even considering potentially doing a stream on it. Not exactly sure if that's going to be a thing or not, because right now I'm super busy streaming a bunch of stuff, so I'm not sure if Dead Cells is going to be in the streaming schedule, but it is definitely a lot of fun. And if you're enjoying the gameplay that you're watching right now on screen, I can wholeheartedly recommend it. It is a pretty solid title, and just, in my opinion, just don't look at it, oh, it's got Souls-like combat. I don't agree with that at all. That to me is a non-factor. It has good combat. I really like the combat of the game. I don't necessarily think it's Souls combat, though. Anyway, thank you guys very much for watching. Leave me your comments, feedback, all the kinds of good stuff in the comments section below. Remember to subscribe if you're new so that you're always notified of all the videos that I'm working on. And I will see you guys in the next one.